Thank you very much, and well spoken, Orla. A lot of the things that you have in your delivery there, I'm going to be saying them, but maybe saying them in a different way, not as an architect. Thank you very much. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you all for having me here at this esteemed gathering. Again, like lots of people, I've heard about it, I've read about it, I've never been here, and I had a very interesting journey down here this morning. I stopped in Mount Charles, visited a couple of post offices, and just to try and get a sense of the place. I met my friend John Kelly. He brought me out to see some of the wonderful sites. This is an absolutely fantastic part of the world and one to be cherished. Now, just a bit about myself. I know Mayo has sort of taken over the stage here today, but I'm from another part of the world, a place called Kilkenny, and it's a place that I'm glad there's a couple of us up on the stage here from that neck of the woods, but it's a place I'm very proud and a great place to come from, to grow up in. So my interest in rural Ireland spans from that, my interest in Kilkenny, my love of all things rural and all things, and what a wonderful experience it was for me. I've done lots of things over the years. I've been in business for 35 years, and as Liam said there, my business Insomnia, we opened our 100th shop last week, which was a great milestone for me, as I say, an overnight success after 19 years. But there you go. So let's stay with rural Ireland, because today is not about me, it's about the issues at hand. Some people have strong views on rural Ireland. I'm one of those people. And again, it's great to see that's a true poster that was up there in the recent campaign. And that's the kind of stuff and that's the kind of spirit that I like to see in rural Ireland. To hell with the begrudgers. Get out there and say it as you will. Just the issues as I see them. Emigration has been a blight on our landscape. It's been a blight. It's something that we've struggled with for generations, and we've had another wave of it recently. We also have the situation where people have migrated to where the work is. I believe that the out-of-town shopping centres, again, they're here, they're a reality. I don't necessarily agree with them. I'm very proud of the fact that the only county in Ireland that doesn't have a Tesco is, guess where? Kilkenny. Yeah. They tried to build one in Callan, but they stopped it. So, then we have the combination of the closure of the banks, the withdrawal of the banks from many large towns, the post offices, which I'm going to talk a bit about more in a second, the pubs, the Garda stations. We've got no nighttime or leisure facilities in many small towns. And one of the mistakes that we make is that we think it's all about retail. We think it's all about shopping. But it's much more than that. The shopping is only one piece of the experience. The way we shop now is different. It's much more, as they say, experiential. So it's about the restaurant, it's about the bar, it's about the walk in the park. It's not about going to just simply go and buy something. We have poor or no public transport in lots of rural areas, which is a huge problem if we want to move away from the car, which is effectively the enemy of many towns. And we've had poor planning, which and we saw Orla gave many examples of it there, where local and community initiatives have just been ignored and not been included. And I believe that there hasn't been real joined-up thinking, like really national thinking, government thinking from successive governments. Winning back the high street, I want to talk to you about this on our radio show on News Talk. It's a campaign that we've had going for 18 months now. 1 week in every 4, we now go out of Dublin, we go to a town around the country, and we effectively try to get the community together, do an audit of what's happening. Just have a listen to this, because this was in Westport last week. Whoops. Somebody help me here. Hold on.
Have you audio there?
Yeah, there's audio there. Here we go. Yeah.
No, put it on the system.
Sorry about that. So just have a quick listen to this clip. This is last Saturday in Westport. Gets behind how things really work in Irish business.
Down to business on Newstalk with AIB. Backing small business and farmers. Backing Brave.
Yes, a very good morning to you wherever you are. You're welcome to Saturday's Down to Business. This is the show that gets behind how things really work in Irish business. We're live here in the Town Hall Theatre in Westport, and we're winning back the High Street. Yes. Yeah, we've a wonderful crowd here this morning in Westport. I thank you so much for coming out in your droves. Coming up on today's show, the great tourist initiatives that have made Westport a destination. How and why was Knock Airport ever built? Taoiseach Enda Kenny on why Mayo will always be home. Joining us in our executive chair, Owen Hughes, from a great company down here called Port West. Plus I'll be on my bike out there on the Greenway, where I cycled yesterday all the way from MacGill to Westport. It was absolutely fantastic. As always, you can call me here at the station, 1890. This proud Mayo man was appointed as Minister for State for Tourism and Sport, a position he currently holds. Michael Ring, you're most welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Now, Michael, before we start, you and I had a great honour of starting a bicycle race here in Westport this morning. We did it in tandem, and we just had a little chat about your party leader, Enda Kenny. Have a listen to this. Now, Michael, I was talking to Enda Kenny last night, right? And he said to me, would you ask Michael Ring when you see him, does he still have that bruise on his shoulder from that county final we played in 1975 when I hit him a box?
Well, Bobby, I'll take off my shirt if you want to see it. But I'll tell you, he wants to take off his shirt too, because what he gave me, I gave him back twice as much. But he was a dirty little player, so he was. The mighty lady fellas are here, they were tough.
But what does Westport mean to you?
Well, look at Bobby as somebody that's born and reared in Westport. I was born in this town, and I have to say what it means to me. I travel all over the world in my job as Minister for Tourism and Sport. I get the opportunity. And when I'm coming in Sheehan, and for people that don't know Sheehan, that's the hill just as you're coming into Castlebar Road. When I look down and I see the 365 islands, I'm happy to be home. And no matter where I go in the world, I love to come back to Westport. I think it's the greatest town, not in Mayo, not in Ireland, but in the world. And we have something in this town that they don't have anyplace else. We have community, great community spirit, great community feeling in this town. And I can tell you one thing, if there's anybody in difficulty or need anything in this town, the community rally around. I love this town, I love the people of this town.
So, just that campaign, and it's been wonderfully powerful, and it's given me an insight into all sorts of towns from Athlone, from Galway, Westport. We've done lots of them, and we're going to do another half dozen before the end of the year. But again, I just wanted to give you that clip of some place that's doing it well, some place that the community has really, really got together. There's a vision for the place, and again, people who can make things happen are fully behind it. So I think that, just to move on, I was appointed there recently by Minister Alex White to have a look at the future of the post office. It's called the Business Development Group. I'm the chair of it, and we've just recently done our interim report. And I want to just talk for a second about the importance of the post office. And let me give you a couple of cold facts. There are 1,150 post offices in the country. 17% of them do over half the business. 2/3 of the business is done in 300 of them, i.e. 48% of them only do 12% of the business. So the economics of what we currently have in the post office is a problem. 52% of post offices are now co-located, so the whole model of them being on their own, so they're now in centres or spars or those type of convenience locations. A couple of things about the post office. It's the most trusted brand in the country. It has 1.7 million customers a week. It's a turnover of 820 million euros. And it's got the best distribution network, bar none, across the country. 95% of the population live within 5 kilometres of a post office, and 99% of people live within 10k of a post office. The post office is the last man standing. The post office needs to reinvent itself to make it suitable for the needs of its consumer, and it needs to go with its consumer. Two things about the post office. If it loses the social welfare contract that it currently has, it will no longer function. And the NTMA business, that's the National Treasury Management, they've over 2 million 2 million accounts, and that accounts for 53 million euros a year. The post office needs to be saved, and it needs to be re-engineered. And our first part of the interim report has come up with the following recommendations. The post office will have to provide a basic bank account. If it does not do that, it will not survive. It also has to be a place whereby government business can be transacted. Things like motor tax are an absolute no-brainer. The social value of the post office, it's again the value of, if somebody unfortunately dies in a rural area, often it's the post office that is the place. The value, the social value, the community, everything that the post office do, there's been no value put on that. And that's what we're going to try and do, is put a value on it. And then if government want to recognise that value of that there's a cost of keeping an outlying rural post office open, then pay for it. And because I don't think it's fair to ask on PUS to run an unprofitable business. White labelling of products, that's what they're going to get into. They already have some insurance and phone products, but again, a provider of broadband. But it really needs to absolutely reinvent itself to actually deal with the needs of its consumer. And finally, I think if the post office is the last man standing, the credit union is probably the second last man, and they need to come together. And there's been lots of different initiatives to try to look at fusions of the post office and the credit union, and because of politics and all other things, it hasn't happened. It needs to happen. So that's a summary of what I believe needs to happen in the post office, and I firmly believe that the post office is a huge asset to the people and place that is rural Ireland. And staying with rural Ireland, let's not go the same way as the UK. It's actually not too late, in my view, to change it. We've done lots of things. We've built things in the wrong places. We've sucked people out of main streets and high streets and towns. But I don't think it's a basket case. I think certain places will never recover. But I don't want to live in an Ireland that has no pubs and no shops and no Garda stations. That's not the society that we want. So let's not sleepwalk ourselves into a place that is in Ireland that we don't want. And and they did this in many of the towns and places in the UK, and we went and followed them and did exactly the same thing. Okay, I want to lighten things up a bit now, right? Because I want to ask towns to get creative. Towns need to forget about spatial strategies and forget about, and I don't mean forget about, that's probably the wrong word, but they need to fight their own wars. They need to get together themselves, independent of government strategy, and decide what do they have in their town, what's good about this place. And once you decide what's good about it, you get collective agreement within that town and you market the hell out of it. So you get creative and you get out there. And, I'm a great believer in marketing, and in marketing without spending a lot of money. That lady there, Miley Cyrus, she came to town. She had bought a cup of Insomnia coffee, and that was on the front page of every newspaper, every internet site all over the country. Our next one on the left there was that infamous day, the day the IMF came to town, the day we were robbed of our sovereignty. There's a poor beggar man on the top of Dawson Street. He's there with his Insomnia cup, trying to collect a few quid. Who passes by but Mr Chopra and the IMF? That picture, again, infamous as it is, we got massive publicity out of. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, guess what happened next? One of the tabloid newspapers decided to take that picture and Photoshop it. And Brian Cowan becomes the poor old beggar at the top of Dawson Street with his Insomnia cup. This is marketing genius, folks. So, the great Garda Wi-Fi controversy, the Ombudsman. Oh, that dark night when the Ombudsman's office was bugged. Who was the culprit? The local insomnia in Capel Street. Yes, we were the ones who infiltrated this great system. And again, didn't cost us a penny. We got massive publicity out of it. The only people to come out well out of the Garda Ombudsman controversy was insomnia. Slight anecdote to the story is that the Garda Ombudsman happens to be my next door neighbour. We had a very, very awkward conversation over the fence. But the point here, folks, is you need to think what you have. What do we have in this town? What's great about it? Now, how the hell do we get out there and tell people about it? That's how it works. That's absolutely how it works. Luck can play an important part. That was me last week. You can get unlucky. Things happen. But you can also have good luck. Check out this guy. 2 months ago in the US, he wins $200 million in a national lottery. Guess what? 2 days later, she becomes his girlfriend. How lucky is that? And I believe there are towns in Ireland that got lucky. Ballyporeen, whoever heard of the place? Moneygall is another one. You can get lucky. You just have to find that piece of luck. In summary, this is what I want to just leave you on. Communities need to fight back. Communities need to take ownership of their towns and villages and say, look, we're going to do something about this place. This is a wonderful village or town, and how are we going to do it? Get everybody on board and get out there and do it. There's many shining examples. I mentioned Westport, there's Clonakilty, there's Kilkenny, there's plenty of them. But there's also towns that just have missed a beat, and towns that are on their knees. And the only way they'll solve those problems is by the people within those towns, the collective vision of those people, and marketing the hell out of it. Every town needs a plan. We need broadband everywhere. I believe that post offices and credit unions, they need to stay, but they need to be merged. Because again, we can only deal with the stuff we have. The stuff that's gone already, there's not much we can do about it. No more out-of-town shopping centres. That needs to stop. Real incentives on vacant shops. So again, the vacant tax, I believe, is a good idea. I don't think anything should be allowed just sit there and rot and decay. We need to do everything we can to get activity and life into places. It's all about life. It's all about people. People make a place. Jobs is a huge issue, and again, I fully accept the fact that we have to, the foreign direct investment, again, it's something that while it's great that they come to Ballina and wherever else, it's unlikely that that's going to be the winning ticket and our ticket out of jail here. I think parking should be abandoned as a method of parking charges should be stopped, and I believe that for every 2 hours, because the only way a town can compete with an out-of-town centre, and I think the revenue model where councils, in my hometown of Dunleary, they're like, you wouldn't believe the military precision of the parking wardens policing the street with 62 vacant shops in it. That's what you've got. And we're all wondering why no one is shopping there, because you'll get clamped if you're there for 5 minutes. That needs to stop, and the councils need to find, even if it's a different tax and stuff, but parking is not the way. It's not the way, and people need to, and I say for the first 2 hours, because you have to have legal and responsible parking. And I think it's much more than retail, as I said. It's about people living in places, people, just vibrancy in a community that comes from the people. But we can save Ireland if we really want to. Thank you so much for listening to me.